It is present in the smallest fragments of our daily lives, an existence so widespread it almost goes unnoticed. In the cracks of the sidewalks we cross each morning, a black procession moves with a rhythm beyond our comprehension, carrying burdens that seem impossible for bodies so small. In the corner of a kitchen, when a single grain of sugar falls, they appear out of nowhere, as if born from the void itself, forming living constellations, circle moving toward one tiny source of joy. We brush them away with an impatient hand, crush them underfoot in our hurried steps, or glance at them with shallow annoyance. To us, they are a minor nuisance, background noise in the grand symphony of our existence. They are the creatures we call ants. We have shared this planet with them for as long as our civilizations have stood, and yet our perception of them rarely goes beyond the superficial. They are cast as symbols of hard work in children's fables, or pests to be destroyed in household product ads. We dismiss them as mere biological automatons, tiny insects driven by blind instinct to gather food and reproduce. Their ceaseless, restless movements seem to us the embodiment of simplicity, not complexity. The endless lines they form across walls and soil are so ordinary, so routine, that our brains have learned to ignore them. We classify them as part of the background, unworthy of notice. And yet, hidden in this collective indifference lies one of the greatest ironies of our planet. For while we raise our eyes to the skies in search of alien intelligence, we fail to see the ancient empire thriving just beneath our feet. Let us pause from our restless pace and attempt to grasp the true scale of their existence. For the numbers involved are not mere statistics. They are declarations of absolute ecological dominance. When scientists devoted their lives to counting the global population of ants, the number they reached was so vast it defies human imagination. The most conservative estimates place it at 20 quadrillion. That is 20 followed by 15 zeros, a number far greater than the stars in our Milky Way galaxy. Consider this. For every single human alive today, there are roughly 2.5 million ants living their intricate lives. They exist on every continent except Antarctica. They have conquered nearly every terrestrial ecosystem imaginable, from the damp rainforests of the Amazon to the driest edges of the Sahara. And if you want to keep uncovering hidden empires of nature like this one, don't forget to subscribe. It helps bring more of these unseen worlds to light. From the frozen mountain peaks to the burning hearts of cities, ants reign everywhere. And their dominance does not end with numbers. Imagine placing every ant on Earth on one side of a colossal scale, and on the other, every wild mammal and bird, elephants, whales, lions, deer, eagles. The weight would tip toward the ants. Their collective biomass is estimated at 12 megatons of dry carbon, surpassing all wild birds and mammals combined. This is no trivial fact. It proves that ants are not just inhabitants of the planet, but one of the fundamental forces shaping it. They are engineers of ecosystems, soil movers, seed spreaders, apex predators of the invertebrate world. With this knowledge, we must see them differently. A line of ants on the pavement is no longer just insects marching. It is a patrol of a hidden superpower. A mound in your backyard is no mere nest. It is the capital of an underground metropolis, home to millions. We are not speaking of simple creatures wandering without purpose. We are speaking of a global empire, a web of civilizations that thrived tens of millions of years before our ancestors even climbed down from the trees. So let us ask bolder questions. What if their endless activity is not chaos, but purpose? What if every movement is guided by collective intelligence, rivaling anything known in the non-human world. What if inside those modest mounds lies the blueprint of civilization? Advanced architecture, organized farming, strategic warfare, and complex communication. Let us leave our assumptions at the surface, and for the first time, step into their world to see the truth with our own eyes. It will wander aimlessly, unable to eat, reproduce, or fulfill any meaningful function, until it quickly dies. Its existence only has value as part of something much larger. Scientists have a precise word for this phenomenon: superorganism. Imagine a colony of hundreds of thousands, even millions of ants, not as a crowd of individuals, but as a single living organism. In this analogy, each ant is a cell within a greater body. The workers are its muscles, legs and hands, foraging and building. The soldiers, with their powerful jaws, are its immune system, defending against intruders. And the queen, hidden deep within the nest, is not a ruler giving commands, but the reproductive organ, her only purpose to generate new cells in the form of eggs that expand the body of the colony. The intelligence of the colony does not reside in the brain of any single ant. Instead, it emerges from the countless interactions of agents that are not intelligent on their own. This phenomenon is called emergent intelligence. There is no central command, no general orchestrating strategy. Each ant simply follows a few basic rules. Smell pheromone A, follow. Detect the scent of an intruder, attack. Find food, lay down a chemical trail. Out of thousands of such simple acts arises complex coordinated behavior, locating the shortest path to food, constructing elaborate structures, launching organized assaults. Self-sacrifice is the law. An ant will die without hesitation to protect its nest, just as a skin cell on our body dies and flakes away to shield the layers beneath. They embody the phrase, "Unity is strength," not as a metaphor, but as a biological reality. If the colony is the body, the nest is its skeleton and circulatory system. And in the realm of architecture, ants are unrivaled. Beneath our feet, they carve vast underground cities that would humble even the most brilliant human engineers. These structures are not random. They are the product of millions of years of evolution, optimized for efficiency and survival. In one striking experiment, scientists poured molten aluminum into an abandoned nest. What they uncovered was not chaos, but a blueprint of breathtaking design. An intricate city frozen in metal. And if you want to keep exploring hidden worlds of nature like this, don't forget to subscribe. It helps bring more of these untold stories to life. Once the aluminum cooled and the soil was cleared away, what emerged was nothing short of breathtaking. A vast network of vertical highways branching into thousands of smaller tunnels, each leading to specialized chambers with precise functions. There are nurseries where worker nurses carefully tend to the eggs, larvae and pupae, moving them up and down throughout the day to regulate temperature, much like human parents shifting a crib toward the morning sun. There are granaries where harvester ants store seeds under dry conditions to prevent sprouting. For leafcutter ants, there are sprawling underground farms where they cultivate fungus as a renewable food source, and deep on the margins of the nest lie waste chambers, repositories for discarded food, corpses, and refuse. This sanitation behavior is vital. It prevents the spread of disease that could wipe out an entire colony. Some species even maintain dedicated cemeteries, recognizing the dead by the distinct chemical signatures of decay. Perhaps the most astonishing feature is climate control. The tunnels and entrances are not random. They are engineered to exploit simple physics. Warm air rises and exits through upper vents, while cooler air is drawn in from below. This passive ventilation system maintains oxygen flow and regulates internal temperature, keeping the colony stable against scorching daytime heat and nighttime cold. Ants are, in effect, ecological architects, designing sustainable, self-regulating cities perfectly attuned to their environment. And this raises a profound question. How can millions of individuals coordinate construction on such a grand scale without any central authority, no overseer, no blueprint? The answer lies in a medium utterly foreign to us, the invisible language of chemistry. Ants are master chemists, and their words are pheromones, chemical signals released by one individual to trigger social responses in others. This is their internet, a biological web of information flowing constantly through the colony. Their chemical vocabulary is immense. The most familiar is the trail pheromone. When a forager discovers a rich food source, it does not simply eat. It lays down a chemical road, a glowing signal only visible in the realm of scent. A signal that says, "Follow me. Here is abundance." On their way back to the nest, the ant will rhythmically press the tip of its abdomen against the ground, leaving behind an invisible chemical trail. The first nestmate it encounters will detect this signal with its hypersensitive antennae and be compelled to follow. When that second ant returns, it too reinforces the trail with its own pheromones. Very quickly, what began as a faint line becomes a bustling chemical highway, guiding hundreds, even thousands of ants directly to the food source with astonishing efficiency. The richer the prize, the stronger the trail. There are also alarm pheromones. If an ant is attacked or senses danger, it releases a volatile chemical cloud, a biological siren. Within moments, nearby ants detect it, stop what they're doing, and either rally for battle or scatter in retreat, depending on the threat. Each colony also carries its own chemical signature, a unique code of identity created by the queen's genetics and the colony's diet. This scent is layered onto every ant's exoskeleton, like a uniform. When two ants meet, they engage in antination, a chemical handshake, where they read each other's profile. If the scent matches, they pass peacefully. If not, the response is immediate and ruthless. The intruder is attacked and eliminated. Through this invisible web of signals, the colony breathes, thinks, and acts as a single coherent being, a living superorganism. When we study human history, we often call the agricultural revolution, 10,000 years ago, one of our greatest leaps. The moment we learned to plant and harvest our own food, paving the way for permanent settlements and complex societies. But beside the ants, we are amateurs. 50 to 60 million years before the first humans walked the earth, leafcutter ants had already mastered farming. The sight of their endless columns carrying fragments of green leaf like tiny sails across the forest floor is one of the most iconic images of the tropics. But here lies the twist. They do not eat the leaves. Most foliage is too tough, too toxic to digest. Instead, they are farmers of fungus. Each fragment is carried deep underground into vast subterranean chambers. There, a specialized caste of smaller workers takes over. They chew the leaves into a fine pulp, mix it with saliva and droppings, and carefully cultivate a single species of fungus, Leucoagaricus, their sole crop and primary food source. And if you want to keep uncovering the hidden civilizations of nature, don't forget to subscribe. It helps bring more of these untold stories to life. The bond between ants and their cultivated fungi is one of the most extraordinary examples of mutualism in nature. The fungus cannot survive outside the colony, and the ants depend entirely on it as their sole food source. With meticulous care, the colony tends to its gardens. They weed out invasive fungi, and they even produce antibiotics from specialized bacteria living on their bodies to protect their crops from disease. When a young queen flies out to begin a new colony, she does not leave empty-handed. Inside a special pouch in her mouth, she carries a fragment of the ancestral fungus, the seed of a new civilization she will establish. These are not merely farmers. They are the torchbearers of their own agricultural legacy, passing it from one generation to the next. If some ants are farmers, others are herders. Many species have developed an intricate mutualism with sap-sucking insects, particularly aphids. Aphids spend their lives tapping into plant tissues, drinking sugary sap. Yet this sap contains more sugar than they can use. The excess is excreted as a sticky, sweet liquid known as honeydew. For ants, honeydew is pure energy, nature's own power drink. And instead of waiting for it to fall, the ants take an active role as herdsmen. They defend their aphid flocks with ferocity, driving off or killing predators like ladybugs or hoverfly larvae. In return for this protection, they milk the aphids regularly. An ant will gently stroke an aphid's back with its antennae, triggering the release of a droplet of honeydew, which the ant drinks immediately. Their ingenuity does not stop there. Like shepherds moving sheep to greener pastures, some ants carefully transport aphids to healthier parts of a plant where the sap flows stronger. And most astonishing of all, when winter arrives and host plants die back, certain ants carry the aphid eggs into the warmth and safety of their underground nests. There they guard them until the spring, when they return the newborn aphids to fresh plants, ready to restart their farming cycle. This is not simple instinct. It is a sophisticated form of animal husbandry. Yet for all their order and cooperation, the world of ants also has a darker side. Rivalries over territory, resources, and supremacy can erupt into full-scale wars on a terrifying scale. Battles between colonies may involve millions of soldiers waged for days, leaving trails of carnage behind. Soldier ants, often a distinct caste with massive heads and jaws, line up in organized ranks, launching coordinated attacks and fighting to the death for their colony. In the grand archive of life on Earth, many empires have risen and fallen, yet the ants endured. They are silent witnesses to mass extinctions and drastic geological changes. The oldest ant fossils ever discovered, trapped in ancient amber, date back to the Cretaceous period around 100 million years ago. This means they were already here, building their civilizations long before most of the life forms we know today even appeared. Their extraordinary resilience is no accident. It is the direct result of all the traits we have explored. Their superorganism social structure grants them unmatched collective strength. Their engineering abilities allow them to create stable microenvironments to withstand harsh external conditions. Their chemical communication systems enable quick adaptation and response to change, and their ability to exploit resources through farming, herding, and even warfare has given them a competitive edge in nearly every terrestrial ecological niche. They are the ultimate example of evolutionary success. And so, our journey into the world of ants brings us back to the surface, but with a perspective forever changed. The next time you walk outside and see a black line of ants crossing your path, pause for a moment, realize that you are not looking at meaningless insects. You are witnessing the procession of an ancient civilization, an entity whose ancestors may have crawled beneath the feet of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. You are looking at architects who build underground cities that rival our feats of engineering. You are looking at farmers and herders who discovered these practices tens of millions of years before we did. You are looking at warriors of a tireless empire, one that endlessly expands its territory on a global scale. You are witnessing a superorganism, a collective intelligence distributed among trillions of tiny bodies, working in perfect harmony toward a shared purpose. We humans, with our individual consciousness and our technology, often believe ourselves to be the pinnacle of evolution, the sole rulers of this planet. Yet the story of the ants is a powerful lesson in humility. It reminds us that there are other forms of intelligence, other forms of civilization, and other forms of success. Perhaps we are not the only rulers here. Perhaps we are merely noisy, short-lived guests walking across the roof of a kingdom far older, far tougher, and far more enduring than we could ever imagine. Yes, the kingdom of ants.